So can you each talk about where you go to get your care and how you get there, including any barriers that you might be experiencing?
Again, we moved here from the West Coast in 2020. It was right before the pandemic. We had the opportunity to buy a house, and Louisville was affordable, especially considering how expensive the West Coast has become. So we sold both of our cars, thinking that we would just come here and buy some cars. And pandemic hit, and that wasn't really an option. So my partner bought a car for their job, and I said, oh, I'll just take the bus to wherever I have to go to. And at the time, before the pandemic, the buses ran pretty well, every 20 minutes or so, and they were generally on time, and there was even a free shuttle that went through downtown that you could just hop on and everything. And since then, the city has claimed that they don't have enough money to keep the public transportation running, and so every hour it runs now instead of every 20 minutes. Oftentimes it doesn't show up, and that's frustrating. Especially considering that they were solvent before the pandemic, but then after the pandemic, they were no longer solvent. I don't understand that, but it becomes frustrating because, like today, I had an appointment with my doctor. The bus was supposed to take me to my appointment 15 minutes early. I showed up 20 minutes late. Thankfully, she was able to squeeze me in, but a lot of time, if that was a job I was going to, I would be fired if I was constantly late like that. So it becomes very, very frustrating in this city to deal with that, especially coming from someone like Portland, Oregon, where if the bus is 2 minutes late, there's pandemonium in the streets. Everything runs very, very well. Over there, there's several different types of, light rail and all kinds of things for people to get around. And moving here was really a culture shock for that, especially because people don't tend to complain about it. It's very strange to be here. Anyway.
Thank you, Eric. Kirsten?
I'm sorry, I froze up initially. With the issue about the transportation, actually, Medicaid provides transportation for a lot of things. If you read your handbook, you can be provided medication, or transportation, I'm sorry. I've said before, like I stay at my boyfriend's a lot of the times. He's in Jeffersonville, Indiana. However, if I was coming from the house, my actual address, they will provide transportation to any appointment that you have. So I think that that's maybe something that needs to be more addressed to people, because apparently Eric doesn't know that, and that would help him quite a bit, because it is actually provided. It's completely in the handbook. It's provided kind of above and beyond, in my opinion, actually, because they will send a bus for one person that's able-bodied to go to a doctor's appointment. Medicaid does provide that. It does. So I just wanted to, there's a lot of problems I have with Medicaid or with anything, but I think that there is a little bit of a sense of entitlement on a lot of things that needs to be addressed. So people need to read their handbooks. It does state, and they do provide that. I can't go from my boyfriend's house because I don't live there, so duh, but he could go from his home to his doctor's appointment, and they would provide that. And if he was late, they would accommodate that. It's something that Medicaid provides. So.
And so, Kirsten, when you've taken it, it's been a positive experience. It sounds like. Okay,
yes.
That's terrific.
I mean, I felt very bad about it, though, honestly, because that's above and beyond. It really is. And I know that I have family members, I have friends, and that they are just a little bit above my income level and can't, Medicaid isn't available to them, okay? Medicaid was only available to me because of a medical emergency that they just pretty much automatically put me on, okay? And then after that, I have people that are like $10,000 more a year income that have to pay for every single thing. And then the part that bothers me the most is that it's not universal. So I'm from Washington State. The prescription prices are totally different there and here and all of that kind of stuff. And that's kind of a big deal. That's the biggest deal because we are actually being provided for, but people don't read the books or they don't, you don't know what you actually have. But it is there, it is available. And I have used it and I felt very guilty because to have one bus come and pick me up and drive me 30 miles to a doctor's appointment is pretty crazy. So for free, I don't have to pay that. But my friend that makes $10,000 more than I do a year has to not survive. So that's my opinion, so.
Great insight, or valuable insight. Thank you, Kirsta. Anybody else on transportation? Anybody else find it a barrier?
Yep, okay, so we've talked about transportation. Let's talk about just getting care in general. What's easy and what's not easy?
Well, since COVID, as we all face this problem, it's harder to get in to your doctor. And it depends on what kind of insurance you have too. That some can get in a month. I've had an appointment that's taken 6 months. And it's just kind of debilitating if you really need to go. So that's one thing.